Hey everyone, Michelle Angelic, Truth and Integrity Warrior here. Today's story, it's a hot topic. I am in love with a narcissist, right? It's the title of this video. This is more than just about a love story, about loving somebody who's very hard to love, right? I'm not the only one in the world that's going through this, or that has lived this experience. The reason I'm bringing this topic up is because I want to challenge those who say you cannot love a narcissist. I understand why a narcissist cannot love, and that's the topic that I want to bring up today. It's not just about my love story with David. It's not about my journey, my process, my rising as a phoenix from the ashes of what that relationship did to me, how I became better because of it, but not because he willed it, it's because I willed it. And he must will for himself, but he has an unfair advantage, and that's what this is about. Narcissists have an unfair advantage that not only they don't know about, but the most medical system doesn't know about it. And the reason why is because nutrients or nutritional deficiencies are not known to be why we have health conditions that we have today. Well, I'm about to change that today. I got enough proof and evidence that if any medical professional takes this information, runs with it, tries a couple studies for themselves on adding this supplement to any of their narcissistic, I don't want to call them patients, but people that they care to or they cater to, I guarantee you a change in their emotion, in their empathy, in their care. Because nutrition affects behavior. It is a fact, and it's a fact we're not paying any attention to. So I have enough love within inside of me to not abandon the hope to make a difference for the narcissists that we love in this world. Because it's not just me and David that have lived this painful experience from this type of behavior that narcissists project and cause an effect to themselves and to others. These are our children. These are the people that we love. These are our family members. And so it's not just about forgetting about them. There's no help for them. There's nothing that can be done for them. I say we take one more fucking chance. One more fucking chance. And I'm going to present it right here. So it's not about me talking about my love story. You want to see it? You can see my development, my growth, my breakdown. I should say then my growth from my breakdown of my relationship on the playlist at the end of this video. But this is going to be about, are they narcissists or are they highly vitamin deficient? And when I say vitamin, I'm talking about vitamin B1 specifically. So megadosing with vitamin B1, that's what this is about. And I want to present this information to one doctor in specific. I just watched a video on a podcast from Lewis Howes. I love his podcast. I just saw it a couple days ago, and he had Dr. Ramani Durvasula. I hope I said that right. I will post it in on the bottom. So you can see, she specializes in narcissism, right? In narcissistic behaviors, characteristics, and she got it down, and she ain't wrong. She's right. But the part that I say, and I challenge her, is she says, there is no help for them, and I say that there is, damn it. And I said, let's do something. And I want you to prove me wrong, doctor. I want you to shut my mouth. I want you to tell me why I don't know what I'm talking about. Or I want you to write an additional chapter to your books to say that we do have a solution. There is hope. There is something that can be done. That's what this is about. Now, the way I'm going to present this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But I'm going to do my fucking best. I'm going to do my best. Alright. So I've taken information from other specialists, or from specialists. I'm not a specialist. I'm just a fucking specialist at overcoming. I'm a specialist at surviving and achieving and coming out through the fucking ashes. That's what I specialize in. That's all. But I have taken scientists' information, nutritionist information. I've taken information from doctors. I've taken information from everywhere that I could gather to put these pieces together. I'm going to put these pieces, I'm going to present these pieces, but I'm also going to post them in the description on the bottom so that you, Dr. Ramani, can take this, give this supplement, this mega dose of B1, which I'm going to explain which B1 of all the different B1s that there are and who's talking about this, what specialist is talking about this. But he's not bringing it together with narcissism. But like I said, I'm going to put all these pieces together, see what you think, and I'm begging you to try it. I'm begging you to give this supplement, to give it a try. And if Dr. Ramani, you don't take my challenge, I'm going to ask you, Lewis Howes, take this information, make somebody that you know implement this and make it happen, because I love these people. I love David. No matter how much David cannot love me back, I have learned to put up my boundaries. I know that I cannot communicate with him, but my heart loves his soul, and I'm watching his soul try so hard to get better, and I can see where his challenges are. I can see beyond the veil of the negativity that's thrown. You know, I can see why he's doing it. I can see why the behavior is that way. And so I'm asking you, Lewis Howes, I'm asking you, Dr. Ramani, please take this information, run. Prove me wrong or write a new chapter. Do a new podcast, a new presentation. I believe in this because I believe in the power of love. That I work to make this, put these pieces together, to look and to find and to seek how to make this happen. So let's get into it. So how am I going to present this? This is the challenging part. How am I going to convince Dr. Ramani and Lewis Howes, because I'm going to work on a small scale, just these two people. I'm going to convince you that what I'm saying is real. So there's enough evidence in science out there that I've been able to put this together. We have Elliot Overton. He's a nutritional therapist out in the UK. His focus and his specialty is vitamin B1 and mega dosing with that. 300 milligrams and above. Not 1 milligram to 2 milligrams like is recommended. Now, there's different types of B1, which is thiamine, right? There's different types of thiamines out there. He focuses on TTFD and all the research that he found on it. He can speak for himself. I'm just bringing this information to why it should be added to the diet of narcissists, because their behavior is on the negative. And narcissists, because of what the doctor has shown, is there's a pattern that they all follow, and they all do the same thing. Now, they're not having narcissist parties and saying, hey, this is how we got to behave, and this is how we got to do it, and this is how we lift them, and this is how we drop them, and this is how we ghost them, and this is how we did. They're not doing that, but yet these people are behaving the same way when they don't even communicate. Now, how is that possible? Because there is a cause and effect, and this cause is the lack of nutrients that the body is receiving to do proper operations. All right, so I can bore you with a bunch of stats, information, data. I want to narrow this down to a perspective, because if we don't start getting a different perspective about how we are approaching the situation with narcissism or the behavioral patterns in people who are narcissistic, we are going to lose more and more control of the way our society functions, because narcissists aren't the only ones who are breaking down in their cognition and the way they think and the way they feel, the way they do. We have a problem with the expression of emotion right now in our society in 2021. And if we don't get a hold of what the root of cause is really happening to our organism, to our physicality that's affecting our emotion, we're going to be in a lot more trouble than we're in right now today. So this is what I want to present, is mega dosing with vitamin B1 supplementation. This is something that Elliot Overton, a nutritional therapist out in the UK, has figured out is the cofactor in why nutrients aren't getting to where they gotta go. And we already have a lack of nutrients getting into our body because of our commercial diets that are so full of glyphosate that take out minerals. Glyphosate is a chemical in our food they're supposed to be a weed killer, but it's in our food, and because it's in our food, it's also demineralizing us. And to demineralize a human being is to degrade the human being, to cause an effect, a negative effect in it, because we need nutrients to develop, to prosper, to be well, feel well, behave well. And this is about behavior. So we got Dr. Blaylock, who wrote a book on nutrition and behavior, the correlation. You want evidence, you want science, you go hit up Dr. Blaylock. I'll be putting all this, like I said, I'll be posting it. Dr. Blaylock shows unequivocally how what you put into the body is going to give you an effect in your behavior, period. You put chemicals, toxins in there, you're going to get a negative effect. You put positive information, meaning nutrients, dense nutrients, you're going to get a positive out of it. So you're going to get negative and positive depending on what's going in, right? Then we have people who say that you're born like that. It's in your genes. You're stuck. We have Dr. Bruce Lipton, who says, who's an epigenetic, he's in epigenetics. I know I said that freaking wrong, but it is the fact that the body cells will behave according to what's in their environment. That's epigenetics. That's what I wanted to say. It wasn't coming out. So what we put in the environment of the cells is how the cells are going to respond and act. So if you wanted to contest that, you can go hit that up with Dr. Bruce Lipton, right? We're not born with certain genes. Our genes are in certain fucking conditions on a habitual pattern, generation after generation, that if we don't do something to change that pattern, it's always going to be the same. So let's make that change. Let's make that adjustment. I found 2 studies showing how the lack of B1, which correlates with Elliot Overton, the nutritionist out there, a specialist out in the UK, how the lack of it will cause liver damage, and that liver damage obviously causes another effect to the rest of the body. So we're talking about constant dysfunctions. But besides liver damage, it causes lesions to the brain, and lesions to the brain that nobody's diagnosing, that nobody's recognizing is cause and effect, because there's something missing. There's a gap, and so no matter how many nutrients they get in, there's a gatekeeper that's not there, and that's that B1. And that's what this B1 is about. Make the dosing, again, not 1 or 2 milligrams. We're talking about 300 milligrams and above is what Elliot Overton is speaking about. And he's saying that he has studies upon studies upon studies of the incredible change in people's physicality, emotional, psychological disorders that they have, they get them solved just by adding extreme amounts of what I'm talking about is megadosing with the B1. Elliot Overton doesn't use just any B1. He uses something called TTFD, is thiamine tetrahydrophosphorylate disulfate. Okay, it's a long ass word, that's why they just call it TTFD. There are other types of thiamine. It's important to get a clean form. He explains that. He actually sells a form. It's very clean. I'm going to be posting that too. I couldn't get a hold of it, his thiamine, because it had sold out. So what I got was the benfotiamine, and I'll be posting which one I got, which brand I got. It's also very clean, meaning it has no other byproducts in it. And I saw a change in my family members, right? I saw a change in my family members. Got 2 narcissists, right? They got a lot of behavioral problems, emotional, cognition. I'm not going to go into what it is that they struggle with, but one of them's highly narcissistic and the other one's stuck in arrested development, right? Like he's 16 years old and he's in his 30s, when he wasn't like that before. He was a fucking professional working at an executive level, and then shit just changed radically. And why is that? Because the breakdown begins. The nutritional breakdown begins. So I've seen these people, I've seen them where they weren't before and where they are now, and how are we going to get them back? So they started taking the benfotiamine, this clean version, like I'm saying, 300 milligrams a day, and both of them are chronic smokers. One's a weed smoker and one's a cigarette smoker, and both of them recognize that they're not smoking anymore like they used to. They don't depend on it like they used to, and that's a chemical reaction, it's a chemical effect, that's a benefit. This is what I'm talking about. We lack nutrients. We have chemicals, toxic foods that are coming into our body that are actually removing nutrients, so we're going into a huge deficit. So megadosing with vitamin B1, like Elliot Overton speaks about, correlates with these two studies that I found. Thiamin deficiency related brain dysfunction and chronic liver failure. I should say, David is going through liver failure. I wanted to say I know someone, but I'm just going to tell you it's David. And he is my narcissist, and he's going through a lot of problems with his liver. Again, he needs to make a dose with B1, but he's so angry at me, he won't take it. He won't take it. So this information is for this doctor. You know, I want this doctor, I'm so sorry, Ramani, to take this challenge, to see if there's a huge change in megadosing with the people she's working with, and see when she speaks to them what their effects are. Because I know that there has to be. This is not a guess. I know, I see it. It's in the paperwork right here. Here's another study, the role of thiamine in neurodegenerative diseases. And in this study, it's talking about how thiamine has a favorable impact on a number of systems, including digestive, cardiovascular, and the nervous system. And so when we're talking about behavior, we're talking about the nervous system, right? It also stimulates the brain and improves a psycho-emotional state. Psycho-emotional state is how we behave, how we think, how we feel, how we do. And so if thiamine is being looked at as that, and we're not recognizing that there might be a deficiency, then we're missing the boat. And so what Elliot talks about is megadosing with B1. It is a cofactor with getting the enzymes in for ATP production. ATP production is so that the mitochondria within the cell, the energy, the motor, the power that gets it going can function for other operations. So if that's going down, nothing else is working. And so we are expecting narcissists to behave a certain way is the same thing as saying that I expect that guy with that one leg to run that race, and I'm going to bust his balls until he fucking does it. But because I can see he has no leg, then I'm not going to do that, because I'm like, how the fuck is he going to do that? How am I going to expect that to happen? I'm going to give this guy a prosthetic to work with before I say something like that. And so megadosing with B1 with this TTFD, especially because it saturates the brain better than the rest of the thiamines that are out on the market. There are types of thiamines that are on the market. And Elliot Overton can explain all of that process scientifically. If we are not getting our narcissists this type of supplementation so that the rest of the nutrients, the B1 is like a bridge for all the rest of the nutrients to upload and get to where the fuck they gotta go so they can function, so that they can think, feel, be, and do differently than what they are right now. And so I am begging Lewis House and Dr. Ramani to please take me up on this challenge. I'm going to be posting the information so that you can research it and see it for yourself, make the connections. But we cannot leave the people that we love abandoned because they're fucking assholes. We can't. Because there's a reason why they're being like this. There's a deficiency going on that we ain't looking at. And before I finish, I wanted to put in this gentleman who has a testimony, a story that will fucking break your heart, what his family had to suffer. But when he recognized that they were nutritionally deficient, and that's all that made the fucking change, and he lost his wife and almost lost his son because of it, his story is so impacting that you never want to imagine suffering what his family has suffered. But nutrients, or the lack of nutrients, were causing his family to have psychosis on many levels. And so when he created and put together a nutritional plan for his family, and now he makes vitamins that make sure that his family members and other people that are going through these psychosis, through these behaviors that are on the negative happening, he protected his family. It's better that he explains what happened than for me to sit here and explain his story. But I do want to say, in short, just give you an idea of his story, how he recognized that there's something in nutrients in repairing his family. Because he went to every medical, scientific doctor, what we know the system has set up for us for how we're supposed to take medications to fix something that's natural in our body. Well, it's unnatural to take in toxins. It's unnatural to be demineralized with glyphosate. It's unnatural for us to have these behaviors and to have this much dysfunction because we are breaking down and we need to build back up, and we got to build from the inside out. And so he went, this man, Anthony Stephan, his testimony is when he found what could help his family. He saw it in some pigs, on a pig farm. He saw that pigs were being really aggressive to one another, mistreating one another in the pen. He asked the pig farmer, you know, what the hell's going on? He's all, he said, I haven't given him any supplementation. I haven't given him any supplements. Gave him some supplements. Next day, pigs are just like, hey, what's up? You know, cuddly Dudley, you know, cute and pink. Treating each other well. How do they change your behavior like that? How is that possible with supplementation? Because the lack of nutrients causes an effect to our behavior. That is my fucking point. And so I'm not going to give up on my narcissist. I love him, even though I can't be with him. Even if I'm never with him ever again. The love in my heart for the pain that I know he's living. Because I watch him go through pain. I watch him hate how he is. And I watch him want to change. But he doesn't know how. So let's stop making these people run with one leg, a marathon, right? It's an example, of course. So let's stop making our narcissists behave a certain way when their fucking chemical reactions can't do it. Let's give them a leg up. Check out Elliot Overton and eat old nutrition with his mega dose of B1 supplementation with CTFD. Let's make that change. This is Michelle Angelic, Truth and Integrity Warrior, saying never fucking give up on love. Because love is what pushes us through to find fucking answers and solutions to our problems. Peace out.
The bigger question I often get is, can a narcissist love?
Is that possible?
Again,
besides loving themselves?
Lots of people love narcissists. They do. They're like, I love this person.
Oh, wow.
Many people are gaslighted.
Now, we're not feeling good about the relationship we're in, whether it's a working relationship, a friendship, an intimate relationship. We've spotted it.
Yep.
What I'm hearing you say is there's really no way to change a narcissist.
No.
So trying to change them is not going to happen.
No, it's a fool's errand.
What would you say, again, are the main causes? What are the main things that happen to cause someone to become a narcissist? Is it all trauma-based?
It's partly trauma. It's also that temperament. It is chaos in the early environment.
Yes.
It's lack of secure attachment. It's overvaluation of the child.
Gotcha.
Basically, the child can do no wrong. And
what we're going to talk about is nutrition and the effect on behavior, primarily brain function. And this is a wide open field. We're learning a lot of things about nutrition that before were only guessed at. And one of the really exciting things is the effect of nutrition on genetics. We're finding that nutrition can control whether genes are operative or non-operative. In other words, they're on or off. And we're finding that you can, early in the stages of development, alter a child's and the mother's nutrition, and you can affect the child's life from then on, either negatively or positively. Reducing breast cancer risk is something that's found recently. Reducing hypertension as an adult by what you do and feed your child as even in utero. But we're going to concentrate here on the effect of nutrition on brain function, and particularly people's behavior. Now, we know that the brain uses a tremendous amount of energy. The brain is the only part of the body whose metabolism and function never completely rest. The brain's metabolism never slows down significantly. If you give massive dose of phenobarbital and put people in an extremely deep coma where you have to control their respiration, you can only reduce the brain's metabolism 50% doing that. So people that are in deep, deep comas still have pretty high metabolism inside of their brain. And because the brain is metabolizing these nutrients so rapidly, you produce a lot of free radicals and lipid peroxidation products. That means you start oxidizing the different parts of the brain, which is harmful. And now we're beginning to realize that almost all neurological conditions somehow come back to that. Various nutrients are associated with behavior: vitamin C, D, E, K, A, B, the carotenoids. All of these associated with brain function have behavioral manifestations if they're deficient. B1 deficiency, thiamine associated with Berri Berri. You have insomnia, memory failure, depression, chronic fatigue, personality change is a characteristic of Berri Berri. And again, we see subclinical deficiencies in the United States. If you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates, it depletes your vitamin B1. So that's how you end up with a thiamine deficiency in the United States. And it's closely connected to magnesium deficiencies.
So our emotions, or what we label as emotions, are triggered by neurochemicals. And why is that important? Well, because if somebody comes in and they're trying to address their depression, whatever that looks like for them, well, that's great. But they need to understand where that's coming from. There are some cognitive things that can trigger their brain to think that there's a threat, which sets off the stress response. But they need to understand that there is a neurochemical, a biological component to it. So it's not just about changing their thinking. They also need to be making sure that their body machine is in top working order.
Right now, vitamin B1 or thiamine is the most underrated and overlooked nutrient with untapped clinical potential. How do I know this? Well, I've personally witnessed miracles. I've seen it have such a good effect on people who've been written off by previous doctors and practitioners as being merely mystery cases. So the potential benefits of using this nutrient in high doses are practically unknown, spare a handful of people. The question is, why is this nutrient so often overlooked? Well, in this video, we're going to look at some of those reasons. Medical doctors are taught that the only people who are likely to have thiamine deficiency are either alcoholics, anorexics, people with eating disorders, or people who have recovered from some kind of surgery, including gastric surgery. Nutritional programs teach something similar, and even in functional or integrative medicine circles, most of the focus is placed on other B vitamins such as B12, folate, and niacin. So overall, there is this myth that thiamine deficiency is a problem of the past. And let's look at exactly why that is. A deficiency in thiamine produces a condition called Berri Berri. But the problem is that these symptoms can be so non-specific and span across so many body systems that it makes it really difficult for practitioners to identify this condition. And why is it that someone can develop so many odd symptoms due to a lack of thiamine? Well, if we look at what thiamine does actually inside the cell, then it's pretty obvious. It ultimately comes down to the generation of cellular energy in the form of ATP. Thiamine sits at the gateway to oxidative energy metabolism in cells. Acting as a cofactor for two key enzymes, it is not only essential for burning glucose as fuel, but also proteins and fats. Both of the enzymes, which thiamine plays a central role in supporting, are considered rate-limiting enzymes. So when they stop working as they should, the entire process of energy production slows right down. Furthermore, activated thiamine also governs the activity of multiple other enzymes involved in energy metabolism. So it turns out this means that attempting to improve mitochondrial function when there is not enough thiamine in place becomes futile for many people. Because thiamine is so central to how cells make energy, this is also able to account for such widespread manifestations in different people. Subclinical Berri Berri can either manifest in the brain, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, the heart and circulation, or it can only affect the gut and the enteric nervous system. And in this case, it produces a kind of paralysis of the digestive organs, which is often mistakenly thought to be caused by bacteria. In severe cases, it will affect all three systems, and also many other systems as well, including the kidney, liver, muscles, and practically every other system in the body. And because of these widespread symptoms, it's often misdiagnosed as a variety of conditions, including fibromyalgia, idiopathic neuropathy or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, CFS, SIBO, gastroparesis or GERD, neurodegenerative diseases, and even certain types of cardiovascular diseases. And to make matters worse, if a practitioner does actually prescribe thiamine, it's usually nowhere near enough to have a therapeutic effect. In fact, it's thought by many that the amount that you find in a B complex is sufficient to address a deficit. Unfortunately, this could not be further from the truth. For reference, the RDA sits between 1 and 1.5 milligrams. That's what you're meant to get from food every day. The maximum that you will probably find in a multivitamin supplement is about 100 milligrams. The problem is that the average therapeutic dose of these forms is anywhere from 500 to 2,000 times the RDA, and at least 5 or 10 times what you would find in a multivitamin. And even then, the most common forms found in supplements are simply not the most bioavailable. This means that someone requires much higher doses to see any effects. Someone with some kind of genetic predisposition to poor thiamine transport will likely be much more responsive to very specific derivatives such as TTFD. But unfortunately, this form is practically unknown. And if by chance someone suspects thiamine deficiency, it's really difficult to spot with testing. This is generally because testing methods are quite poor. Most blood measurements only measure recent intake and are generally not reflective of total body status. Functional medicine lab testing is similarly unhelpful in many cases. So oftentimes, a candidate for this therapy should be identified through symptom presentation and clinical history instead. To complicate matters even further, many people who are responsive to higher doses of thiamine might not even have a classical deficiency in the first place. Rather, thiamine supplementation is being used in a pharmacological way to stimulate enzyme activity to essentially kickstart energy metabolism instead. And so in these people, testing is probably not going to be all that accurate. In fact, in these people, a much better approach would be to look at the clinical history, look at the onset of symptoms, and look at the health condition. And since this therapy is remarkably safe and has a lot of potential, I truly hope that it starts to get the attention that it's deserved.
In my 20-year career, I have rarely seen these dramatic responses from conventional treatments. When people get well, they get well across the board, not only in the symptoms that we treated, but also in other areas like improved sleep, stabilization of mood, reduction in anxiety, and the reduction in need for cigarettes, cannabis, and alcohol. My research on those around the world have shown that 60 to 80% of people respond to micronutrients, showing just how powerful this intervention is. And internationally, there have now been 20 randomized placebo-controlled trials. This is the gold standard that we use to make clinical decisions, showing that we can reduce aggression in prisoners, slow cognitive decline in the elderly, treat depression, anxiety, stress, autism, and ADHD. And they might even be more cost-effective than current conventional treatments. This study here documented the treatment of a 10-year-old boy with psychosis. When his 6-month inpatient treatment with medications was unsuccessful, he was treated with micronutrients. Not only did the micronutrients completely eliminate his hallucinations and delusions, changes that were maintained 6 years later, but the cost of the treatment was less than 2% than the cost of the unsuccessful inpatient treatment. The cost savings alone make it imperative that our society pay attention to the wider benefits of this approach.
Question about what is it that's keeping society from catching on to this new biology is a very important question, because that delay of adopting the new sciences is really what is keeping us from beginning our evolutionary jump into a higher level of consciousness. And you say, well, what is keeping the public from receiving this information? The fact is, it's very simple. It's the self-interests of the moneyed groups that like the structure the way it is. The institutions that have been here, invested in the world in the way we are living it right now, that put all their effort into that to have the public respond to that. All of a sudden you come along and say, well, there's new ideas, new beliefs, new ways of living. And yet, what the issue is for these entities, these institutions, is the concept of a new way of living and a new idea about life undermines their business plan. So basically it says that the media, which is owned by the private interests and the corporate entities that pay for that media, also pay for what is being delivered through that media. It's a very simple point. And the issues why this becomes important is that the news is filtered. The filtered news supports the actions and activities of the institutions that exist, and any news that is really contradictory to the established institutions is generally kept off of the mainstream media to keep the institutions in power and in control. So basically, the resistance is not from the people. The resistance is from those parties that are interested in keeping the situation exactly the same without change, because those institutions are making a substantial profit from the way the world is running right now, and therefore have no interest in seeing a new way of life on this planet.
And I started to search, and I started to continue to fast and pray, and I'm looking in scientific journals. Somewhere, someplace, there must be an answer. And over a period of time, people started bringing little pieces of the puzzle, not even aware that the things that they were saying and bringing were adding to this composite. And I found things. And slowly that puzzle came together, and it basically had the word nutrition written across it. I started to put my son on different nutrient therapies. Did they work? No. But I knew that that was the answer. Deep in the recess of my heart, I knew that there was an answer there. And I kept on pursuing it. And I started to put my son and my daughter onto these different nutrient supplements. Of course, they didn't work at first. We kept on going. I kept on pursuing it prayerfully. January 18th of 1996, almost 2 clock years since my wife has disappeared into that dark chasm of suicide, I put my son on another formula of nutrition. It was an interesting issue because 3 days later, he ran out of his lithium prescription. And my wife, Barbara, and I had a family discussion over whether or not she would go down to the pharmacy to refill the prescription. I call it a family discussion. She calls it a full-blown fight. Now, I got to ask the gentleman here in this meeting, this is a question for you. Who do you think won? Well, you know already. So she went down to the pharmacy and she picked up this bottle and she brought it home, and she was really sorrowful, not because of the fight, but she was sorrowful because of the situation that we were in. She was so afraid. I was afraid. Everybody was afraid. This is crazy. How can you put your son on nutrition, these high-level disorders, and expect that you're going to see a result? It's whatever. It's an incredible thought. And I said, you know, Barb, we just got to keep on going. I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too. And she gave me that bottle, and I took it, and I walked up that old winding staircase in that old house that we lived in, into our bedroom, went into the bathroom, and I opened up the medicine cabinet. I can still feel myself doing it today, setting that bottle on the second shelf and closing the door behind it. I want you to know that I never, ever had to take that bottle down and use it. Because within 30 days, this young man no longer experienced any symptoms whatsoever of bipolar affective disorder 1 with rapid cycling. It was gone. He got better. I remember sitting with him on the couch. I guess you probably call it a sofa down here. Up in Canada, we call it a couch. You call it a couch here? Okay. Sitting on the couch with him about 6 weeks into this, and him saying to me, Dad, what happened to me? He got that consciousness, you see. Where was I? Why was I so angry? Why did I want to hurt everybody? Hey, Joe, that wasn't you. That wasn't you. That was just the chemistry. And you know, he's never, ever looked back. He got better. You know, the principal in that small town where we lived saw this miracle. All of a sudden, this raging monster that he thought this boy was became quiet and calm. He wasn't sedated. He became intelligent. He was able to do everything. He was doing his homeworks. The teachers loved him. The students weren't complaining anymore. The parents weren't phoning anymore. So he started telling everybody in the town. Pretty soon our phone was ringing all over the place. Hello, yes, this is Mr. Stefan. Oh, I see. Your wife has been depressed for 11 years. Would it help? You heard about this from who? From the principal. Okay. I'm not sure if it would work for depression. My son had bipolar disorder. Let's give it a try. Let's see if it'll do something. And it worked. Hello. Yes, this is Tony Stephan. Oh, hi, Mrs. So-and-so. Your 12-year-old boy is kicking holes in the walls, and what does he have? ADHD? He has to have an aide, and they don't want to keep him in school anymore? Do I think that what happened to my son would assist? I'm not sure. He didn't have ADHD. He had bipolar. Let's give it a try. And it worked. And then the phone call from the older gentleman 2 blocks away that nobody knew. Hi, this is John. My wife, Gloria, has struggled with schizophrenia for 18 years. She sees spiders crawling on her body. She has the suicidal voices. The only reason that she ever rises is to eat or to have a bathroom break. And I take her into the city of Lethbridge to see her doctor about every 2 or 3 months to get prescriptions refilled. I heard about what you're doing in the Handicap Society. Do you think that this would help my wife? Well, John, I don't know. That's an awful long road to hoe. Let's give it a try. And it worked.
I see even the best of men degenerating into the exchange of blows. I see even the best of men identifying the enemy in our neighbors and friends. I see even the best of men falling prey to cowardice and self-righteous anger. It needs to stop. I need to stop. You need to stop before it's too late. Who is the enemy here? The snake in your heart? The lies on your tongue? The arrogance of your intellect? The cowardice of our refusal to see? The enemy is that which divides to sow discord. The enemy is the pride and the fear that stops us from lending a hand across the divide. The enemy is the great and eternal adversary of mankind. And if we demonize our brothers, our comrades in arms, do we not precisely call that dread spirit forth? Have we not yet learned? Courage, trust, truth, love, even unto your enemy, which is yourself. God, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. May what is highest guide our vision. May what is highest open our ears. May what is highest guide our tongues. And may we pray, fearful of the hell we could so easily and carelessly create. Deliver us from evil. Shine a light into the corners of our dark hearts. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.